on the bills to be sufficiently paid.
This is the portion of our meeting where we open up to the public for comment. Please address your comments to the board and maybe not to each other. Yes, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Jim Blessing. I live at 1 Buchanan Way. We're in the last stretch of Weatherwax Road before it hits 66. We had our well tested in February, and it came back triple the state limit. Triple, once it got from middle school. I understand we're deep in the planning process now for where the district will be expanded. I would request the board that if you look at partially or fully extending of Weatherwax, as I stand on my front lawn, I can see the end of the water line. It's less than 2/10 of a mile from my house, but I can't get it. And I don't know if anyone's looked at purchasing a home lately, but probably the first thing on somebody's list is not a highly contaminated well. All right, my house is unsellable now. I use municipal water, a clean source of water for my family and for my kids down the road. Someday the house will be sold, hopefully not for a long time. But I don't want to put that burden on my kids if it's not sellable at this point. I don't know how many people on that lower end of Weatherwax are in favor of the extension. I know that the other house on Buchanan Way, 21 Buchanan, is fully on board with getting the water line put in. So I'm available if I can do any fact finding, if I can do any surveying or support the board in any way, I'd be glad to do that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, please.
Similar situation. Hear about the, because I hear there's also a process on the water being extended. We live on Pleasant Hill Drive, right up here. And actually, when the water line was put in a few years ago, it was brought up to the top of Hinkle and bypassed our street. Not really sure why, because we're right there. And also, not only that, but they did bring the fire hydrant right onto Pleasant Hill Drive, and then they stopped. And there again, I'm not really sure why we couldn't be part of that whole program as well, because it's a very short road. And there again, to his point as well, there's been a lot of issues in Postonville, not only that, but just the rate of water and all that. Most of us have water storage tanks put in our home. And I just think it would be more beneficial. And like he said too, if we want to sell our homes in the future, it's only going to raise the value of our homes. Let's face it, Postonville is an absolutely beautiful place, and why would not? People want to come here, right? Like beautiful views, beautiful community, people love it. I just think it would be a much better situation if the water wasn't an issue in our area. And again, with I'm speaking with you, Sue, if you need any assistance with fact finding, help, or anything like that, we'd be more than glad to help you. But I'm hoping that we are on the list.
Yeah.
Hi, Phil LaRock, Algonquin Estates. I'm a member of the Concerned Citizens for Clean Drinking Water. These issues resonate with the group. A few things. We had asked Keith and Bob to either work with the county or the state to notify residents surrounding DSI based on DSI's test results that came out quite a bit, 25, I believe, above the MCL. And I don't think that's been done yet, and hopefully that can be done. The next item that the CCCDW group is following is we also have requested, and we're told that the county was going to add the private well results, well test results that were paid for by the individual residents to the county totals. We haven't seen that yet.
Well, they promised me they would.
Okay, that was a month and a half.
I'll follow up tomorrow.
Okay,
And,
I appreciate that.
I'll also touch it again about contacting people. I mean, we've asked.
Well, it's critical. I mean, there's people, they don't do social media, they don't come to meetings here, may not be involved with our group, that live in that neighborhood. They need to know that the test, the result that they got at DSI was not good. Okay, we're not sure what's going on with it. It's supposedly a Superfund site, or going to be, but I just don't know the status of that, and the state has not been clear. They're still studying it. It's been 10 years of study for the Superfund. The last time, and the last point is, the last town update on the safe, the clean drinking water was on January 27th. Do you know when the next one's gonna be?
No.
Town update or county update?
Town, the town Facebook site. I
Oh,
think
Well,
Bob does
we
it.
can update that tomorrow if you want.
I'm not sure anything's happened, except, you know, we've had our Zoom meeting that you were thankfully involved with the state and the county.
That was my last contact with.
Okay, so this is more of a follow-up, those are follow-up items from our group, the Clean Drinking Water Group, okay? Thank
They
you.
did, the county did issue a February update.
What's,
The county did issue a February update.
I only saw one in January,
Somebody's emailed it to me.
February.
Yeah,
The last record we had from our group, and we follow that stuff pretty closely, was mid-January. Maybe you're wrong. If there is one in February, we'll check it out.
okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
I do have a little bit of an update on creating of a new water district. I met with Labarge earlier this week. We asked them to put together a plan for the possibility of hooking up Deer Creek because they came and asked. So that is going to be in the next proposal. The other roads, we have, and I'll contact our engineering firm and see what it costs to have you guys included as well. As far as Weatherwax, that's one of the potential routes to Algonquin School. We're probably going to do this in phases because I don't think the town can afford to go all the way from our current water district to Route 66. It's just, I have the numbers here and it's just, we could talk about it, but I asked her to come back with another plan where we could do it incrementally, where it would go basically the Algonquin Estates area to Algonquin School and pretty much stop there. We're waiting to see what Tin Lake is doing. They're working on their own water district, and if they get to the point that we're at, then we can talk about going further down Route 66, but economically, it's at least another $2 million to do it, and honestly, we can't absorb that. So these other shorter runs, they're not as expensive as, so especially yours, Jim, I don't think we could do that. It won't cost any more than going the other way. So that's where we're at with that.
I appreciate that.
So, anyone else?
What I'm just questioning in my own mind is, I thought there was state and federal money being handed out to take care of clean drinking water after Hoosick. Is anybody looking at grants?
Yeah,
from there?
that's why we hired Labarge. We have to have a plan in place in order to apply for the grants. The grants have to be applied for by July, so we have to have all this done by July. But yeah, that's exactly what we're doing.
All right. The second issue is what I've been here for 2 months about repeatedly, and I continue to, Mr. Wahlberg turned around and he got in touch with me and said, listen, some of the concerns you have, I'm questioning too, and I'm wondering if we got any response through him, through a list of questions I got about this information that I've received in regards to our benefit unit charges.
Well, I will tell you that we have set up 2 new accounts, like I told you we were gonna do. And when I put together next year's budget, I promise you I will look at it differently, but what's done is done. And I know you're not gonna like that answer, but that's my answer.
Well, the thing is, and I'm not trying to be argumentative with you, I mean, I'm looking for answers to me, are realistic questions in regards to reviewing the budget myself. One of them, let's do one quickly. One is like the bond to Brunswick. That bond has been paid off for 2 years, but it's showing up in the budget. Where are those funds? And why is it showing up in the budget again? And nobody's brought up. You can turn around and say, you know, whatever reason you have, but if it was paid off last year, it should have been addressed last year and this year. It shouldn't be there, period. But yet you're raising the rates $40 more this year, and the method that you're using to charge for the water and for the installation is 2 different accounts. You said you set up two different checking accounts per se, right, with them. Well, my question to you is one of them for the bond to pay for the construction of the pipeline and another one for the water usage itself. Is that what you set up?
Yes,
So they're not combined anymore?
no, they're not going to be.
But they turned around and said before that we take funds from one account and put it to the other. Is that correct or not? That's what you told me.
Well, if you look at, and I think Andy reviewed it, if you look at the contract that we had with Brunswick, it doesn't specify how we have to allocate the monies between the benefit unit charge and the water usage charge. There's no restriction.
I'm lost. What do you mean there's no,
You keep on saying that certain expenses should be put into one category and certain should be in another,
yes,
but that's not the way the law was written.
I understand that, but the laws turned around can be wrong, as you found out. And it's one of the things that you've mentioned before and he said to me, he said, this is my opinion. Well, I went around and asked all the neighbors in my area, and they're all under the misconception, as I was, that there is a certain amount of money being collected through the benefit unit to pay for the construction of this pipe, the installation. And that's what our money was going for. And if that was the case, if it was whatever the amount is, okay. But when they're finding out that it is not being used just to pay for that pipeline, they have a problem as well as I do. Because if you look even at the numbers that you have in your own budget, one of them is, I'll give you a real quick one. We pay $107,000 or $113,000 to Troy and Brunswick for water, right? About. We generate from water sales $110,000 right in that area, which means all the expense for treating the water, for the electricity to operate it, all of it is being passed on to people that don't even get the water. I do. What I'm telling you does not benefit me because those funds should be paid by people using the water. I use the water, so all I'm doing is converting it from one to the other. But somewhere along the line, that bond's gonna get paid off, just like Brunswick. I'm told that benefit unit charge will never, ever disappear, and that's wrong. It's like me buying a house, telling me my mortgage will never, ever be paid up because we're gonna use the money for other things.
And
It's wrong.
and as we spoke several times, I don't agree that money cannot be used for maintaining that line, that system. You do, but I don't,
Okay.
then that's where the disagreement lies. When you say repairs shouldn't come out of that, well, I gotta pay for it somehow.
I understand that, but my contention is, and again, I'm not excluding myself from it, but the people using and receiving the water are the ones that should be paying for the transmission, the treatment, and all the rest of it. That bond, and if you want, I can do this in our next meeting. That's your opinion and my opinion, but everybody I know that I talk to around me says, no, that should all be coming from the treatment and rest of it should be coming from people that are actually using the water. If you want, we can do, get 500 people, what do you got, 700 some units, there's 400 and some people that are in the water system, and have them all come and all voice their opinion, and we'll have a vote to what you should be doing and not be doing. To me, one of the issues that you said before, it's because it runs in front of my house, even though I'm not hooked into it, I should still pay for the water and the rest of it. That's like saying, cable runs in front of my house. I'm not hooked up, but I should be paying cable along with the telephone company and National Grid, and if they run gas lines. That's ludicrous. Where that thought even comes from is beyond me. I mean, it's foolish.
Well, that's how this water district is set up.
So,
And that's how it is.
all right, but let me ask you this. What happens if it's turned around and the misconception is that this money by the people paying it is the belief that it was for the construction, because that's what I was led to believe in the rest of them. So they don't agree with the way it's set up, that it's wrong.
It is for the construction, but it's also for the maintenance of that system.
Maintenance is one thing. Turn around and charging for the treatment of water is something totally different.
The treatment of that water is part of the maintenance.
Well, part of that benefit unit not only pays for the treatment, but literally pays other people's costs for getting the water. It pays
Okay.
for their water.
We've had this same conversation 3 months in a row.
I know.
I understand, but I don't agree. So, I told you that I'll look at making it clearer in next year's budget, and I'm probably gonna make some changes that will make you happy, but I'm never gonna be able to do everything that you want.
Well, my concern, one of the biggest concerns I got is Once, it's like a mortgage on a house. Once it's paid off, that should disappear.
I'd love it too. Look, you know, I don't use the water either. You know, I'm in that same district. I don't use the water, but I understand that there's a cost of being in the district.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be put onto people that agreed to pay for the pipeline. If you're using water, and I understand, and I truly believe in my heart that when this was set up and done, the main reason it was done this way is because the cost of water would be outrageous compared to everybody else. But you know what? We're a small district. We're small and we're brand new. Did you go to Brunswick and say, listen, we only have this many people on this line. If you turn around and charge us your water, ask them, say, you know, will you relieve us of these charges until we have a certain number of people on? And the same thing with Troy, to trying to cut the rates down, because we're not going to be able to afford to do the treatments necessary, especially with the condition of the water we get it in. We have to treat water that comes from Troy because it's not drinkable yet, right?
Yes.
So
Well, look, we can debate this all night, you know.
I
we can.
understand it. I'm not trying to debate with it. I came in.
I'll tell you again, when we put the budget together next year, I speak with all my council members here. We're pretty transparent with each other. If they want to make those changes, they want to change it that way, a simple majority is all it takes.
All right, one simple question and I'll leave you alone for the rest of the night. You got over $90,000 that you collected to pay Brunswick for a bond that has been paid off, right?
Yes.
If not more, I'm not sure if it's 2 or 3 years. I can't even get a solid answer to that. What are you doing with those funds? I mean, they're in your budget for paying off a bond that you don't have. Where's that money going?
This is the same argument we've had, okay, I'm done doing this tonight, okay? I'm not
More
doing this,
questions,
because you want answers that you've already gotten. It's already within the budget. Tiffany explained it to you last month, where everything is. Come on, please stop.
Chief, it's not, please stop. I, to this point, standing here, do not know where that $90,000.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you come into the office, pick a day next week, we'll sit down and we'll go through it with you, all
Okay.
right?
Fine.
Can I just say one thing? Tim, I was waiting on some more information that unfortunately I didn't get.
Yeah.
But the information I compiled, and I think that there is room for improvement. And I'll share that with the board, but I haven't shared it yet with the board. So I will hopefully share that. I will share it with them before next month, but I was waiting for some information that I haven't gotten yet.
And I understand that.
And, you know, again, like Keith says, it's the majority of the board, of how it goes, but I think there's areas for improvement, and I just haven't gotten it, what I needed yet.
And with all due respect, the board is what you guys are. I'm looking at it from what the people that actually use the water, who pay those bills. If they're under the misconception of one thing and it turns out to be something else, if they all come and say to you as board members, listen, we don't like what's being going on. Some of yous aren't even in the water district. Some of the board members don't even have people in the water district unit. But those that do, they should have an input from their constituents. You're here to represent the people, not the board, the town. You're here to represent the people that put you in the office. Pretty simple.
Anyone else?
Actually,
Thank you, everyone.
I have just a very quick public comment. I very quickly looked at our cash flow. The interest rates are still kind of low. We might be able to squeeze out a couple $1,000s, but it'd be a lot of work to organize the whole thing. They're having some sort of big meeting on, I think, the 21st or 23rd to decide on interest rates. And if that does spike up, then I think it'll be really worth looking at.
Okay,
But as of right now, it's borderline, because we have to pay a $3,000 fee each year if we use the service. So that takes basically a lot of our money.
all right, well, just keep us updated.
I will.
Well, if there's no one else, then I'll move on with the agenda. We have the minutes of February town board. Okay, a motion to adopt the minutes.
I'll make that move. I'll move it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. We have the February 16th minutes. Do I have a motion to adopt them?
I'll move.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Well, we didn't originally have a presentation, but it looks like we might have a presentation.
It's up to you. I'm here.
Do you want him to do presentation or in discussion item?
Well, we have them on the agenda for a discussion. Can you give us that, not now, when we get to, you're on the agenda, so we'll.
You let me know.
All right. We have some correspondence from Charter. Any comments? If not, I'm gonna move on to the liaison reports. Do we have anyone from the planning board?
Here we go. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, at our last meeting, we had Mr. Costa, Ms. Brush, and we had the official final approval for the subdivision on 614 Cooper Hill Road. That was squared away, and now it's here tonight. We also had some discussion in reference to the comprehensive plan, not much going on there. We were waiting to get information back from the county representative, and we hope to have more discussion on it at our April meeting. And that was it as far as the basic goes. The other thing that I've been trying to do a little work on is trying to find grants to address the situation on the Rikers Farm Road Bridge culvert either under the Bridge Formula Program or the National Culvert Removal Replacement Program involved with the infrastructure package. Been calling DOT, local projects, no response from them. Have tried putting a request back in to Assemblyman Ashby's office, left a message there again today. We'll see what happens. And he's looking for grant money, looking for suggestions on where to go to try and obtain it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from the zoning board? There we go.
We didn't have a meeting this month, so nothing to report.
Thank you. We have a report from the fire company. Thank you for this, by the way. Anything to add? No? Okay. Thank you for all your work at the Wagner Fire.
No, it's just a point in time, we're going to know what our information transfer will be.
No, we'll get to that. Anyone from the library?
Good evening. We have had a change in policy as far as masks go over there. We are no longer requiring masks, but we are asking and recommending that you respect the right for someone to wear or not to wear a mask, and to be mindful of the other patrons, employees that are there. Events that happened since the last town board meeting, the winter reading program ended. We had over 50 registered. It's a good number. The community outreach survey is out. It's on the website. I did not see any real surprises in it. Pretty much the same as the last time we did it. We had a stuffed animal sleepover. If you go on the website and look at it, it's a nice little slideshow with, of course, with explanations under it, and very cute. And I got a few chuckles out of it. It's really very well done. Right. Upcoming events, our Lego Club meets every first Wednesday. We continue to have story time at 10:15 in the morning on Fridays. On the 12th, just a couple days, we have a Teen Pie Day program. Apparently the schools are celebrating pi, 3.14 and on. So the library is going to do some arts and crafts around the pi idea. On the, what is that? The next Wednesday, we have Amazing Body for kids. They're going to spread a sheet out on the floor. The kids are going to lay down. They're going to trace the body and then get up and then locate different bones and organs in the body. It sounds like that should be really cool. Since the beginning of the month, we've had Find Lucky Shamrock scavenger hunt in the children's room. Go around looking for shamrocks and leprechauns in the room and write them down. The spring seed swap will be on the 31st. Bring your extra, plant seeds in and just swap them and plant some if you want, or take them home. And our next board meeting is on the 28th at 7:30. All are invited if they wish to attend.
Thank you.
Ed, do you know the test to see how much of a nerd you are?
No, but I have been told that I try hard.
It's how many places of pi that you have memorized?
3.14.
3.14.
It's been a long time since school.
I win.
It's been over 50 years in school.
I'm the biggest nerd here. I knew it.
Youth advisory, Tiffany?
Summer camp registration is out, between town of Folsom Hill residents and the outlying non-residents. I have about 80 registered so far. And then we're also doing an Easter event, between us and Sand Lake, and we're gonna do it at Butler Park on April 10th.
Thank you. That brings us to our discussion items, which is petition for the drainage district for Cooper Hill subdivision. And it looks like we have a presentation. Thank you.
I'll set it up over here. Just let me know. Want to move in.
Tiffany.
I got it up on a different link, so I'll have to just swap out links later.
Want him to put that on the other side so we can see it?
Whichever.
Yeah, if you put it on that side, then
Because we have a camera up there.
Oh, okay. Fine. Go home up on it. So, as Mr. Russell mentioned earlier, we were in front of the planning board, their last meeting, and we received conditional approval for this 8-lot subdivision along Cooper Hill Road. It's a little more than 8 acres. It was part of the Van der Hayden, it still is part of the Van der Hayden complex. They own this parcel, this 8-acre parcel. Mrs. Gush and Mr. Gush worked to get this under contract, and we've been working with the planning board and also with the DOT and the Rensselaer County Health Department and Mr. Bonesteel in getting this to the point of getting approval. So it is approved conditionally, and one of the conditions is to obtain a drainage district for the parcel. And the reason for it is that it's written in your code that it's categorized as a major subdivision, which an 8-lot subdivision is a major subdivision. Then we need a drainage district. As far as the drainage district, what type of drainage system there is going to be on the site, there isn't a pond. You know, there's ponds here, just on over in the neighborhood, but each home will have individual systems that will pick up the water from the roof and from the driveways, and it will keep it on site. The soils at the site are excellent infiltration capacity. So the design of the drainage will keep the runoff, the stormwater runoff, on each individual lot. And there's dry wells, there's stone infiltration trenches, and they're not
connected with each other. They're separated, and each individual lot will have a system that will manage that stormwater runoff. So there really isn't a town responsibility for drainage like you would have if there was a pond or if there was some other type of a practice, a stormwater practice that would be on the site. However, because the code is written as it is, we do need a drainage district. And that's why we're here, and that's why Mrs. Gush has petitioned the board to consider this drainage district. And we've prepared the documentation that's required for that. And I think Andy and Mr. Bonesteel have both received those documents. And we're hoping that you'll agree that we're complete, and we'll consider the approval of the drainage district. If there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them. As I've mentioned before, Mrs. Gush is here with me also, so between the both of us, we would be more than happy to try to answer those.
Well, our town engineer's here, and I think he has some things he'd like to talk about.
That's okay, I can see the board. As Mr. Costa indicated, he did submit a draft map plan and report, which is required by the town code under the section under the drainage district. I did review the draft map plan and report, and generally it looks good. The limits of the drainage district are actually the limits of property under control of the applicant, which is the boundary of the subdivision. So that would be the limits of the drainage district. As Mr. Costa had indicated, there will be no post-construction stormwater facilities, which is, I won't say unusual, but typically when you have drainage districts, it's to pay for the maintenance of those types of facilities, those stormwater facilities, a pond or infiltrators or mostly ponds, but in the past, the town has had issues with the maintenance of those types of facilities. That's why that was added to the town code. That's why the law was passed, is to give the town a mechanism to go in and maintain those facilities, and also to put monies into the budget so that they had the funds to do the maintenance. In this case, there really isn't any long-term maintenance required. There is a swale that runs through the lots that will be under the jurisdiction through a permanent easement for DOT. So DOT will be responsible for maintaining that swale that goes to the back of the property, does connect to their roadside stormwater system, which is basically a roadside ditch. There is some culverts, and you're proposing to put a manhole or catch basin in. That's inside the DOT right of way. DOT will be responsible for that once that's installed. Getting back to the map plan report, in my review, the town code does ask for a short form EAF, just for the drainage district. So you could submit that. And Andy can jump in, but it does require a public hearing as well.
It will. So this one, first, does the board have any questions? What you've heard thus far?
So might be a dumb question. So On each of those 8 properties, the water is gonna be held on the property. Where's it gonna eventually end up?
It's gonna infiltrate into the ground.
It's not gonna go anywhere else. It's gonna stay on that.
It's gonna infiltrate into the ground. So we have dry wells and we have some stone trenches
Gotcha.
that the water is directed to, and it'll percolate into the ground. Similar to what we're doing with the wastewater systems, because this is on-site septic system. The wastewater system is also treated by filtering through the gravel that's on the site.
And the water is just the roof and the driveway.
That's all there is, right? That's all we're adding, as impervious area. The rest of it is gonna be lawn and woods.
He was required to not increase the flow off the site, pre-construction, post-construction. The flow, the stormwater flow cannot increase after it's built. So, he had to design it such that, calculation, you guys can show calculations that show that there isn't any additional, stormwater flow into the, state's, stormwater system.
Thank you.
I have a question about the culverts, 24-inch culverts.
Yeah.
Will they be on the borders of the property or down?
There's 2 of them. There's one that runs along here. Right now, currently, the culvert's actually over here, and as Wayne mentioned, we're putting a storm structure, and then we're bringing it over here, and then running it down beyond the wastewater systems that are at the rear of the lots. And then we're gonna just let it go just as it does today. It goes, right now, it comes out of here and just runs right down the slope, because everything runs, as you can see, towards these water features.
Will both of them be on borders, between borders?
Yes, that's right. We're gonna take them and they're gonna run along the side property lines.
I'm just guessing from the way you described it, the homeowner won't even see these structures.
No,
They're underground and grass over, right, that's it.
right, that's correct. With the testing that we did on the soils, I doubt very much that they'll ever have any
No, it's all gravel back
evidence.
there.
Yeah, it's all gravel, exactly.
So, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But there'd be no reservoir at the end of this 20, I mean,
Of those
24-inch?
No, those 24-inch culverts, all they're taking is conveying the water runoff from the road from Cooper Hill. On Cooper Hill, there's swales on both sides of the road.
Right.
And we'll just be taking that and transferring it beyond the construction areas.
I'm not an engineer, but it seems to me if you have a 24-inch culvert, it means you're suspicious of having to handle a lot of water. And what happens at that point when the large volume of water ends from that property?
I don't believe it is.
Well,
On that property.
we're gonna be protecting it by putting in some, what's referred to as riprap, stone, so that the energy that comes out of that pipe, that water will have some energy. They'll be dissipated by these stone aprons that'll slow down the water. And by the time it goes through the stone apron, they'll come out onto the grass at very low velocities.
And the new buyers will see this before they buy?
Yeah, it'll be on the maps. On the
That will
maps.
be visible.
The end of those
The end of the culverts.
those culverts will be, yes, that's correct. And the stone apron will be visible.
Right.
But the outlet of that pipe is significantly down gradient from
Yes.
the roadway, correct?
Yes.
That's a pretty long
Yeah, they're towards the,
swale.
they're towards the rear of the lot, actually. And they're gonna be way back, way back in this area, in this area right here. There's 2 of them. One is here and one's over here. This is the easement, actually.
And why does the state want the access back there?
so that they can maintain it. They're gonna own that pipe. That pipe that we're putting in will be owned by New York State DOT. Because,
Essentially, it's their water, it
Right,
runs
right,
off
right,
their
right,
road
right.
into their system.
Right.
They need to maintain it even as it goes off the site.
All right, thanks.
So this is the issue. Wayne and I had a chance to review this, and I'll kind of characterize it maybe as I said earlier, like square peg in round hole. Generally, when you create a special improvement district, in this case a drainage district, it's because the municipality, through the special district, takes on some responsibility. They're doing something. They're either taking title to or easements over certain facilities that in the future the municipality will maintain. The vehicle to do that is through a special improvement district, and how you pay for that is you bill the properties that are included within the district to pay for that service. The square peg and round hole part of this is there do not appear to be any post-construction stormwater facilities that the town would have any requirement to maintain. Contrast that with the town code. It is very clear that the way your code is written, a drainage district is mandatory for any major subdivision. That's called a qualifying subdivision under your code. And if you're a qualifying subdivision, it's mandatory that a drainage district be formed, but it doesn't make any sense here because there's nothing the town will take over responsibility for ownership, operation, or maintenance. There's another legal issue associated with this. When you create a special improvement district, a town board has to make certain findings before they can approve the district. One of those findings is the properties that are included in the district are benefited by the district. They're getting a benefit for what they're paying for. I don't know in this case how a board can make that required finding because if there are charges to the property owners within this district, they're not getting any benefit from that because the town wouldn't be doing anything. I'm going to read from the map plan and report that Mr. Costa put together. Method of operation. Each drainage improvement at each lot will be owned and maintained by the individual property owner. The drainage improvements located within the NYS DOT right-of-way will be the responsibility of DOT. 2 permanent easements are being conveyed to DOT for the outlet of the 2 culverts crossing Cooper Hill Road. There's nothing even described in the map plan and report that would be responsibility of the town through the special district. So we're faced here with a mandatory requirement under the town code, yet a project where it really doesn't meet the purpose for a special improvement district. The code does require payments, and the map plan and report does outline that. An initial $3,000 payment, initial fee, and then $1,000 per lot. And in the ordinary course, when the town takes over certain of these stormwater facilities, that makes sense. It gives you the upfront money to start doing that work. But there's nothing to be done here. So that's another question of, well, where would that 8,000 plus 3,000, where would the $11,000 go and for what use? Because again, the town's not taking anything over and not maintaining.
Timmery left.
I saw that was coming.
Yeah.
That was a setup. But that's something for the board to consider here. I do see some legal problem with moving forward through the special district approval process, because I think there will be practical difficulties meeting that one finding. So what do we do? One of the things for the board to consider, and this I've discussed with Wayne as well, is taking a look at this section of the town code. It's clear what the intent was. If there's a major subdivision, presumably there will be these facilities that the town needs to take over. But this is the unusual yet possible case where it doesn't fit. So our thought after discussing with Wayne was the code could be written so that it does apply to all major subdivisions for which there are post-construction stormwater facilities that the town would have ownership, operation, and maintenance responsibility over. that makes both legal and engineering sense. And so I'll take another step back. What's the procedure for the special improvement district? There is a petition with a map plan and report that needs to be reviewed for completeness. Presuming this would move forward, there would be a short form EAF that Wayne would have to review. The town board then accepts that petition, deems it complete, and there is a mandatory public hearing associated with the creation of a special improvement district. That's all set forth in a resolution in order. You schedule a public hearing, then you hold a public hearing. After that public hearing is held, then you're able to move forward and consider the creation of the district. And in that determination are those 4 required findings, one of which is all the properties in the district will be benefited through the creation of the district. And I just anticipate a legal issue associated with that, because I don't know how the board, based on the project and Wayne's review, could answer that yes. What would the property owners be paying for it? How are they benefited through the creation of the drainage district? It's a process to go through and hold the public hearing, go through and try to make those findings. And then if you can make those findings, create the district. But I just anticipate problems, at least on that one finding that is required under the town law. Alternatively, the board could consider a proposed amendment to this, which would obviate the need for a drainage district on this particular project. It's however the board wants to consider that. And Wayne, if you got anything to add on what I said, please do.
I don't know why this didn't come up earlier in the planning board process. The way the town code is written, it should be a parallel process where it should come up during the planning review. And this should be done even before they get even to the approval part. But it just came up in a workshop meeting we had to review the stormwater. So, and I questioned it at the time because I didn't know what the town code said. So, but it was shown to me in the code that it's a major subdivision that required to establish a drainage district.
So your suggestion is that we make an amendment to our current code, and then we wouldn't have to have a public hearing or any of that, or we would still have to?
You would introduce a local law to amend this, and Wayne and I can work on that language together with Bob, right?
Bob and Tracy.
And Tracy, stormwater, yeah, we could work on that and come up with what we think is appropriate language. That would be introduced. There's a public hearing associated with the proposed local law, but it seems advisable to me, I think you agree, Wayne, that rather than going through a district formation, a public hearing on a district, that really will be an issue in terms of making one of the required legal findings. A different track could be addressing the local law and making that to address this unusual situation and clean it up so that it really does deal with the situation where the town takes on post-construction stormwater facilities for ownership, operation, and maintenance.
Is there any leeway in the way the law is written where we could waive fees?
Unfortunately, when I read that, I don't see it. I mean, initially,
Those fees are fixed in the legislation.
they're right in the code.
Is there any benefit or detriment to just creating the district? Or is it because of that specific issue about having the money is kind of a hang up? Could you benefit to them?
Yeah,
Right.
let's talk about that. So first, the fees are in here and they're mandatory. That when you create the district, these fees shall be required. I don't have conceptually an issue with that because for the appropriate district, you want that upfront capital in an account.
I agree.
Yeah.
All I'm thinking is a lot of times when people go before planning boards, zoning boards, town boards, it's government bureaucracy bogging down projects for what appears to be no reason.
Mhm.
So what is our most efficient way in way to apply what we need to apply?
I think an efficient way is to take a pass through this law and tailor it to make sure that it's dealing only with those situations where the town is taking over ownership, operation, and maintenance of post-construction stormwater facilities. If you've got a project that does not, this board doesn't get involved in it. It stays at the planning board. They deal with it on a lot by lot basis, and that's it. Traditionally, that's how all the stormwater was handled. Many municipalities do it either in one of two ways because of the state stormwater program now. MS4 communities have legal responsibilities as well. So in order to comply with that, for projects like this, it was either you create a homeowners association and that HOA takes over the ownership, operation, and maintenance responsibilities for the stormwater.
Yeah.
The state does not like that approach because HOAs that are formed just for the purpose of maintaining stormwater facilities generally fail. People don't want to do that. So the alternative is municipal special improvement districts to take over the drainage. And that does make a lot of legal sense, but in a subdivision like this, it doesn't fit. So one of the ways is to tailor this law to address what are the legal responsibilities for the town that make sure it complies with the stormwater requirements, and it just makes engineering sense.
So to speak to David's point, they've been before the planning board for eons now. They're to us, they have the conditional approval, they're to us for the drainage district so we can get final approval.
Mhm.
If we do this, can we send them back to the planning board in a timely manner so not to hold?
So let me go through the time frame to prepare the proposed local law to revise this. That will then need to be introduced at a meeting. Once it's introduced, then you need to set the public hearing, hold the public hearing, then you can act on the law. Absent a special meeting, that's a 2-month process. So it would be drafting the law over the course of the next month, get it in a shape to introduce at your April meeting, and then set your public hearing for the May meeting. I'm not aware of any other conditions that were attached to the approval, or whether that you'll need those 2 months to satisfy those conditions.
No, I don't believe that there were any other conditions.
But
That
that's,
is the purchase of the parcel.
you could do that. When you introduce a local law, the public hearing notice requirements are 5 days before the hearing. So that's an opportunity, if you want to create a special district.
But
So
if we
could
went
have
through
that
the
time.
normal processes, if they needed this,
It would still be
it'd still be 2
months.
months. So either way, it's 2 months.
Correct. I mean, that's, when you form a special improvement district, that's just the procedure. You need to make sure it's complete. There'd be a resolution in order, determining the application is complete, scheduling the public hearing. Hold the public hearing, make your requisite findings, and then a resolution in order. There's just procedure when you create the special improvement district. My experience has been that does always come toward the end of the project review, because why would a town board go through the process of forming a special district unless they know the project's gonna be approvable? So it usually does follow either a conditional final or preliminary approval with a major subdivision. So it's not unusual that we're at this stage where there's a conditional final. It's just this one. And it's a couple of month process anyway. That's just the nature of it. I understand the bureaucracy, but there's certain legal procedure on it. And so you'll go through that time frame anyway, even if you go the route of.
I think
Kind of
amending
cleaning
our
up the
code
law.
makes sense.
That was certainly what Wayne and I thought. You concur with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would make more sense legally, engineering wise. That way applicants also know if I'm designing a project which ultimately will not have any stormwater facilities that need to be taken over by the town or are anticipated to be taken over by the town, then you're out of the drainage district issue and it remains a planning board.
Could that also encourage people, developers, to build drainage districts that don't require that?
That's a, yes.
Because I think it's a
That
better
would be-
design than stormwater ponds and all that stuff.
Well, that would be yes, but there are certain state stormwater
Yes.
requirements.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so.
But it's possible.
I don't disagree. It it's the unusual project these days
Right.
that don't require these kinds of facilities ultimately to be taken over.
Typically, when you have a major subdivision, you're 5 lots or more.
Right.
You have a lot of other stuff going on. You have infrastructure that's going in.
A road,
You have roads,
yeah.
water, sewer, all that. This had none of that.
Right.
Because they, all 8 lots were
On the road.
running on the road.
And we have excellent soil conditions,
Right.
which is very unusual
Right.
nowadays. What we run into is more of the opposite.
Clay.
Yeah, and you'd end up with some basins or
Yeah,
something.
some
that
practice
need to
that
be
would need
maintained.
to.
What's the feeling of the board? Everyone in favor of moving that direction?
Yeah.
All right, thank you then.
Yeah.
I guess that's what we're doing. When you get it, I'll schedule a meeting.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I would anticipate if you could provide us the time to get the law put together, ready for your April meeting, and then introduce that and then consider a special meeting if you're applying for that.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. I spoke with all the council members about this, next item, the, Blackfield agreement. Do we need to read this whole resolution?
I'll be right there.
Sue, do you have this, the agreement, or Tiffany?
If you would like, I can give a highlight.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So this is in connection with one lot within the Lockview subdivision that had been subject to development by a certain builder. And there were certain stormwater compliance issues on the lot. And I know that the building department has been working diligently on that, even since last fall. But the final stabilization of the site was completed in the middle of winter. There was a closing upcoming. There was an agreement that was reached as in between the building department and the builder on what needed to be done for final stabilization and an estimate for that. It's just as a practical matter, given the time of year, that can't be done. So to address this, there was an agreement that the builder would complete those final stabilization issues, and to secure that be done, a security is filed with the town. And that would cover the projected cost of meeting final site stabilization. And I'll say, I know Tracy did a lot of work on this and should be applauded for that. When a town takes that kind of financial security, there should be a security agreement that clearly sets out the purpose of the security, what it's imposing, what obligations are on, in this case, the developer, what rights the town has to take and use the money in the event the developer does not complete the required improvements. And in the event the builder does complete the required improvements pursuant to the time frame, that the town then releases the money back. It is truly just that, security to make sure the job gets done. And legally, there should be a security agreement for that since the town is taking these funds. That's the whole intent of this. So it's set up to require the builder to complete or finalize the site stabilization by May 1. There's an amount that will be escrowed to secure that performance. It sets forth if the builder fails to do so, that the town can take the money. If the builder does complete those tasks, the town releases the money. The builder agrees to perform all of this in accordance with applicable specifications. It only addresses this. This is not an issue regarding anything other than the terms of this agreement. All other stormwater requirements are still in place in order for the town to issue and sign off on the notice of termination under the stormwater program. And that's it. That's in front of, well, that was in front of you for consideration. It has been executed. Going forward, these will be reviewed, and there should be a motion to authorize the supervisor to execute the agreement. So if the board's inclined, this will be a motion to approve this retroactively and have this agreement in full force and effect.
Was there one thing in there that if the builder doesn't do it, the town can use that money to hire its own contractors?
What it does say is if the builder fails to do this, the town can take the money and have those improvements completed.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll entertain the motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
All right.
All opposed? Thank you. Next is our fire agreement, our contract with the fire department for services. I've met with the fire department, I talked with them, and I agreed to make some changes and bring it back to the board. The changes are, instead of being 50-50 in the amounts, they need the money, well, it's supposed to be divvied up and more of a 60-40. So we made those changes, and the amounts don't change at the end of the year. It's just the amounts that are being paid at the time. And I also withdrew the portion that in the contract that made it mandatory for them to give us call numbers. They volunteered to give those voluntarily. And so that's what you have in front of you now. Those are the two changes that I made. Any discussion?
So we will be getting call numbers on a monthly basis.
Just like you got,
I mean, I just saw this like 30 seconds ago.
that's what you get every month.
That's fine. That's all we're looking for.
Can we get, January and February?
They're around there.
Okay. I haven't seen that.
Which is
This is a month of February.
It's on the bottom.
Year to date.
Okay.
There's 45 calls for the year so far.
Pardon?
45 calls for the year total.
Can I see that?
Okay.
Can we have more than one sheet of paper?
So then the report indicates that as of March, whatever date today is, there has been this number of calls, and we've made all, first responder has made all
That is to February 28th.
of them. That's fine. Yeah, that makes sense, end of the month.
Well,
Need a motion to
Yes.
approve the contract?
Yep.
So moved.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed?
So moved. The Hitchcock matter, we need to go into executive session, and talk to Andy a little bit more about. So, we're gonna, I wish, TJ was here to talk about this, New York State DOT resolution. This, resolution, allows them to work in state, right-of-ways and get permission just once a year to do it all the times he needs, rather than getting it individually every time he needs to do it. Andy, do you have anything to?
I do. I've done this in other municipalities as well. So this is a new DOT program. Instead of requiring an individual work permit every time your municipality goes into the DOT right of way to do work, this will in essence be similar to a general permit. You get one permit and then it will allow you to do work for the entire term. In conjunction with that program, rather than requiring insurance on behalf of municipalities, the DOT has said, we'll take an undertaking, in essence, a promise by the municipality to pay if there's any damage associated with that work. And so, as part of this program, there would be an undertaking signed by the town, filed with DOT, which is the municipal promise to indemnify the state for any damage associated with work in the DOT right of way. In front of you is just a resolution to approve executing the undertaking and filing it with the state DOT in conjunction with the application for the general work permit.
Well, I'm sorry, it looks like we just need the name of who made the motion and the name of the person who seconded it. It doesn't need to be signed.
No, it does not need to be signed.
Okay.
Is there a specific amount of time on this? Like
So-
the year of 2022? Or is it-
Under this program, the undertaking, if you choose to continue to get the general permit every year, the undertaking itself is good for 20 years unless you terminate it.
Oh,
Right? So in the event going forward, the program changes or you decide not to do this, all municipalities are going in this direction, then you can terminate the undertaking.
And it's not just DJ, if Bob had to do water work or whatever, it covers all of those pieces.
That's correct. It's all work within the state DOT revenue.
Is there a downside?
Yes.
I'll move.
I don't see.
Do I have a second?
I don't see.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Efficiency fund. Efficiency
Oh,
fund.
No,
no, it's just fine. I just need to, I don't know where it is, but, yeah, this year.
We need a resolution number though, right?
It's four.
This is what I inquired this year, if you had a particular form of resolution. What I've been using is the form of resolution I use in other towns. It simply is a sequential number every year of the resolution, so that it's tracking. And you don't sign the resolution unless you need a certified copy for whatever reason, that then was generated and gets certified by the clerk.
So who is, did you get, who was
Yeah.
motion by?
Yeah.
Second, okay.
And then also, if you're finalizing it, I prepared these, so at the end it says it was / was not duly.
Yes, I
adopted.
did see that, to
Good.
take that out,
We'll
yeah.
make that change.
Yeah.
Don't presume everything's going to be approved. We do that, so that gets corrected as well.
Thank you for that. Our next item is the appointment of Tom Russell to the chairmanship of the planning board.
I'll make the motion.
I'd like to second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Thank you. Okay, this is I think everyone's aware that we are going to have a meeting in East Postonkill, and another one in the Lutheran Church here for the public to comment on what they think we should be using the money for from the COVID relief. This is the cost from MailWorks to send out a mailer to everyone in town, notifying them of this meeting. I'd entertain a motion to,
There was a discussion how we were gonna find the residents, because there were so many zip codes, and we were gonna go off of the assessment roll, so they have a quantity of 900, how are we establishing?
MailWorks did that.
So that was based on MailWorks, and it's based on the people in town getting mail in town. So like you're able to narrow it down more within mail works with route numbers, and it's the same way like if someone did a campaign mailing or anything like that, it can narrow it down.
Have we ever done this?
No,
And we're doing the town's gonna pay for a mailer for private people at a meeting.
this would come out of the COVID relief money.
They're already spending the money. It just seems odd that the town would pay for something that some residents want to do on their own. To me.
Well, it's for the public benefit. And
We have to, correct me if I'm wrong, but we as a municipality are supposed to poll the public about how they want the rescue funds spent. So they're doing that at the local churches, they're having those meetings, but not everybody maybe saw the advertiser or whatever, so that's why the discussion was to have the mailers.
we don't get relief money like this with the conditions on it for use that we have. This is, we're getting a payment this year and a payment next year, and that's it. I mean, unless it come up more, but this is just a way to let the public have a voice on what we're spending this money on.
I do have one question. Is this based on what Eric just said? Private meetings or is
No.
it? No. Will they be run by private residents or is this going to be a board?
Gonna be
Meeting.
run by the residents.
Okay,
And then the report will be given to the town board.
understood. Okay.
This is more than we do for public hearings, though. We do a public hearing, put it on the website and put it in the Torah.
Again, we don't usually get this amount of money given to us. And when the state gave us this money, there were conditions that we do things like this in order to be allowed to use this money. When we do public hearings, they're for different purposes.
That's it, $588 for the.
Yep.
That's very good. It's usually like 1,000 or more, because we have 7 zip codes here. Figuring all that out is almost impossible.
Well, that's why I was questioning 900, how they can.
Yeah, I know.
If Chip says that Mailworks can do that, that's pretty good.
Can you get all that information from the county? Because we used to do mailings and we used to get all the stuff from the county.
It's different, it's different. You're talking about from the Board of Elections? Those are voter numbers.
Well, this was town, wasn't it? Residents,
All the residents of town of Poston,
Is it residents or property owners?
residents.
residents.
So we can get from the county the list of similar how we had to do for,
Yeah, they used to give us all the mailing labels and everything.
yeah, so they will charge us for the mailing labels and it's then someone having to manually. put
Yeah,
it.
labels back then cost $100 for the whole town.
Right, so, and then they also are just giving the property owner list, not, so it could have someone that lived in Florida that has property in town, it's not just residents of town.
No, I think they went to all of them. Well, everybody their own property in town.
Well, at any rate, this is the route that we chose. So, this is what the amount of money is gonna cost. Do I have a motion to take this money out of our COVID relief money and pay for this mailer?
Sure.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
All right.
Aye. All opposed?
Opposed.
Thank you. I guess we're going on to reports, versus the supervisor's report. I've met with a couple of the neighborhood, groups. I've met with the water committee. They did a Zoom meeting that I was part of along with June. The rest of it is basically answering phone calls and complaints, and we've had a few, but it's really no different than any other month. So that's my report. Do you have anything?
Briefly, so over the course of the last month, we have worked on a limited amount on highway union contract proposal, fire department contract, which thankfully is resolved. The resolution in front of you on the DOT undertaking, the agreement for the Lockview Lot 1 stormwater compliance issue. And again, I did work closely with Tracy on that, so well done. Staying on top of him, which is helpful. Reviewing the Cooper Hill subdivision drainage district issue with Wayne. Had a chance to review a few assessment issues with the town assessor on an ag district exemption issue. As she's preparing the tentative rule. And somewhat on the Hitchcock matter, that'll be subject to executive session discussion.
Thank you. See who we have next. We have Sue's report, the town clerk's report.
During the month of February, the town clerk took in $4,894.64. Of that amount, $4,815.40 was turned over to the supervisor.
Thank you, Sue.
Can I make a motion?
Do I have a second? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Sue. We have our assessor's written report. Bob isn't here. I don't know if you guys heard, Bob fell and broke his arm pretty bad. He's got a cast on now.
Which arm?
The same one that you heard last time. So, thank you, Sue, for forcing him to go to that. He came to our meeting, we had a meeting, and he came to the meeting, never told anybody he broke his arm, so he sat there with a broken arm for the whole meeting. And Sue had to force him to go to the doctor. She physically took him there, and it turned out it was broke several times. So, we thank Sue for that.
Was there a beating involved?
No, he might still be walking around with a broken arm, and she didn't force him to go. Dog control, we had a question about, from the Humane Society about cats, but we don't do cats, so we don't have to respond to that. Wow.
We sent it to Bob to just make sure, but we're pretty sure we don't have to deal with it.
And DJ's not here, but we have his report as well.
I got one thing, Keith.
Yep.
For my report.
Okay.
The town code currently doesn't have any guidelines or provisions for intrusive lighting. And I'm getting calls and complaints, and I did speak with Andy, and I think Andy shed some light on that.
Wow.
That's good. He's been waiting for that all week. Been working on that.
So Tracy did raise that issue. There is nothing in your current town code dealing with exterior lighting or intrusive lighting. Some municipalities do regulate that. Some do it through the site plan subdivision review criteria, so that it applies to new projects that are being reviewed and undertaken. Some municipalities do have it as a standard requirement for all exterior lighting in the town. If there's existing lights, those are usually grandfathered, but in the event they need to be repaired or replaced, then they need to comply with the new. And it really is addressing both public safety in terms of roadway impacts, things like that, and also intrusive lighting, which I think is what you're experiencing with complaints regarding intrusive lighting.
Was out with the state police the other night for someone who was just being rude, I guess, to their neighbor, and we kind of addressed it, but I couldn't cite anything because there's nothing to address, but it was very.
Yeah, and as I said, some municipalities do create those lighting limits, height, direction, types of lights, enforcement, and that's what Tracy was talking about, enforcement provisions, which you could get them into town court with a monetary fine in the event of violation. But that's entirely within the board's discretion, whether you want to pursue that, but the issue has come up.
Could we just write a general purpose law, don't be a jerk?
If light for that sake.
Well,
I think if it became a really big problem, we probably should do something, but I don't think we should overreact. If it's just a few incidents and they're willing to be cooperative, well, yeah, at the hands of handcuffs, I guess they were cooperative. Okay.
Well, the issue is duly noted at any rate, that you're right, that continues to be an issue. There are ways municipalities can regulate that exterior lighting.
There are lights on the school itself that really are annoying to those neighbors over there. They've got to be, because they're troublesome just to drive by it.
are we talking about the new houses that just built across from the school?
No.
There's always a BB gun.
Any other comment? All right. I guess we go into budget transfers. We have none. Payment of the bills.
I move that we pay the town and highway bills of $379,560.15.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I move that we pay the water bill of $1,493.28.
Second, all in favor? All opposed? Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment, that didn't get a chance to comment earlier? As this is the end of our meeting, we're gonna go into executive session. Oh, wait. I don't think we're coming out and doing anything, all right.
I'm not aware of any other business after.
Well, no, I guess any decision we make, we can bring back at the next town board meeting, so. We won't be coming back and taking any action of any time, so.
Just a clarification, Keith, where are the two suggested meetings for the public groups to express their viewpoint on the COVID money? Where were they?
Yeah.
planning?
It's on the town website, because I know if I tell you, I'm gonna tell you the wrong picture. I'm gonna.
Up by Langenbauer? That's true.
Look on the website.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Well, before you adjourn, you make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss pending litigation.
All right, make the motion. Do I have a second? All in favor? All right. All opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming out, everyone.
One question? I sure can't. I didn't heard anybody. What about the library?
Where's that?
Yes.
The library. Where's that?
Already signed, was it?
I'll check on that.
Yeah. I believe it was.
We didn't discuss it.
We did that a while back.